Hey everyone, I'm here in Calhoun, Georgia, and today I decided to try to find the oldest grave in my hometown. Now, some of the things that I took into consideration for finding the oldest grave in my hometown was that it needed to be on somewhat of public property. I didn't have to ask to go into someone's woods to get to it. Another thing is it needed to be in the city limit. I'll do one for the county, but for now I'm doing the city limit. And I found probably one of the more interesting cemeteries I've probably ever found, considering Oakland. This looks extremely abandoned, especially for the people that are buried here. But another thing is, I know that Calhoun is famous for New Echota, and New Echota requires admission to visit the cemetery. So that's one of the things I did not want to have to do, so other people can easily visit this area. But I am at the Uthaloga Mission Cemetery in Calhoun, Georgia. It's actually less than 2 minutes from the Buc-ee's, the new planted Buc-ee's in Calhoun. Through the woods I can see the sign for Buc-ee's. It's on a wooded driveway, or a wooded path, so you can't really see the road. So you'll see down there, there's my car, and then back there is the road. Now when you're pulling into this area, there's a Georgia historic marker talking about what was here, and there was actually a church here, like a mission church. Because New Echota was so close, many of the Cherokee Indians would receive their schooling, and as well as trying to convert them to Christianity. So some of the assimilation did go on in this area. But we're going to take a closer look at some of the graves that are here, and like I said, the oldest grave that is here in Calhoun, considering the filters that I put in place to be able to find the oldest grave. So follow me. So when I pulled up in my car, it was kind of interesting to see this. I had not realized that something like this was actually here, considering the amount of traffic that goes on down this way. This is a major highway. I believe it's I-75. So a lot of cars constantly passing by here. And I've lived in Calhoun all the way up until high school, and I've never known that this was here. But we're gonna go over here and take a look at some of the graves. Now, a lot of these people were in the Gambold family. Some fairly recent graves. I see some that are in the 70s, but most of them are in the very early 1900s, and even some in the 1800s. So, and this is crazy just seeing this, especially with this tree right here overlooking the cemetery. I could almost guess that this tree was placed here at the time of the planting of the church, possibly. So this is really cool to see. Some of these graves do reach about 160, 180 years old. Here's something you see pretty often at cemeteries with the classic headstone. You see it a lot with other ones that are much larger as well. Is the where it it just breaks over time. Now this is one where they passed away in 1897, so this has spent quite a amount of time. I'd be surprised to not see one like this broke. Hopefully it's not from any kind of wrongdoing towards the headstone, but you do see that as well. Lots of people love to kick over headstones of people that were not on the right side of history. Over here you'll see I would say that this is the foot markers. It's interesting because if this is the foot markers, these graves are in a way backwards. Usually you see the headstone facing the foot marker, so they must be buried just behind, or just at a different spot, or just in a different position, because the head markers are facing a different way. Not something I've ever really seen. Maybe in one other cemetery where I've seen the head markers face the opposite direction of the foot markers. So that is pretty neat, I'll say. This looks like this had either been moved or it fell off, but I don't see much marks that show that it was broken off. Maybe a little sliding from the concrete, but yeah, even sometimes you'll see where these larger headstones will fall off. (1928). Here is an older one, 1896. And you do see some flowers presented to the graves. This is Missouri Ferguson, who has a flower, died in 1913. And over here is an infant, and usually you can tell that these are infants without reading the marker whenever there are lambs placed on the headstones. So this is Jersey Lee Ferguson, 1899. So someone has been here to place flowers on the graves. It's possible that there are people within the community that are related to these people. So there's another larger one. Wood flowers. This one looks to be some rock. But let's go over here to the older grave and take a look at it, or the oldest grave in Calhoun within the city limits, and take a look at it and go over who this person was, see what information we can find on them. Alright, and so here it is. It's John Gambold. Here is the final resting place of John Gambold. On here, it's hard to make out what it does say, but through Find a Grave you'll find a lot of information on who the person was. Usually there's much earlier photos of the grave, so there's a record of when they passed and when they were born as well. So this actually says Revolutionary War, so there is a veteran of the Revolutionary War here in Calhoun, Georgia. Not a very common sight in Calhoun. Usually it's engulfed in the Native American history, because this was once the Cherokee capital. But it says that John was born in 1760, and he passed in 1827 at the age of 67. So the oldest grave in Calhoun is about 100 and pushing 180 years old. Now, John does have a lot of history with the Cherokee Nation as well, though. But we'll go over his life leading up to that. It says John was the youngest of 6 known children. He was an ordained Moravian minister. He came to North Carolina from Pennsylvania in 1791. From 1791 to 1802, he was the leader of the Single Brethren at the Moravian community of Salem, which is now Winston-Salem. In 1802, he married Katharina Lanus. At that time, he became the pastor of the Friedberg Moravian Church congregation. This was on the border of Stokes and Rowan County, North Carolina, which is now on the border of Forsyth and Davidson County. In 1820, a new mission was started at Uthaloga, and John and Anna Rosina Gambold were intended to take the post to begin a school for Indian girls there, but Anna Rosina died in 1820, which delayed the start of the school. John Gambold by this time was 61. It was thought desirable that he remarry in order to continue with his work. In April of 1823, he married Anna Maria Grabs, the widow of Christian Godfrey Schultz, and they departed again for Spring Place and then Uthaloga. He died there in November of 1827. Anna Maria stayed on the Cherokee mission until it was forced to close in 1831, and then returned to Salem, where she lived on until 1854. John Gambold had no children from any of his marriages. Very interesting to see this little cemetery. Although I didn't get to go into much detail about his career in the Revolutionary War, I'll have to look up some more information. It is starting to rain out here, and for the sake of my camera, I do have to cut it a little short. I'm going to do the oldest grave in Gordon County sometime soon, as well as the oldest grave in the city of Cumming, Georgia, and possibly the Forsyth County, which is Cumming, Georgia. I want to do a lot more of the oldest graves in certain towns, so we'll see what other graves I can get to. But since it's starting to rain, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you want to see the other places I've been to, click the link in the description. It'll take you to an interactive map. I will try to update that soon. I know I've been slacking on that quite a bit. If there's any other places you want to see me document, please leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll try to get to it. It doesn't have to be cemeteries. It can be any abandoned places. Just try to make them a little more accessible. I don't want to get in a lot of trouble for visiting them. But for now, thanks for watching, everyone.